The idea of Nagarlok was established in the mid-90s as a training centre. After Dr. Ambedkar's the anniversary of his centenary in 1991, interest spread all over India among scheduled castes and other discriminated groups in him. But we just couldn't go everywhere. So we decided to set up this training institute here to invite people from different parts of India to come and train with us for some time and then go back and share what they've learned from 24 different states, which is virtually all over India. All this is a manifestation of Triratna work. I'm a member of the advisory body of INEB, International Network of Engaged Buddhists. We had an INEB conference here 11 years ago, 2005. We've been talking about having another conference here and bringing together East and West. So the 60th anniversary of the conversion seemed a very appropriate time.
In a way, rather like King Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism and the effect it had on Buddhism in India. So also Dr. Ambedkar's conversion again has its incredible effect on the whole society of India. So well done, Dr. Ambedkar.
Baba Ambedkar in India has become a kind of a symbol of, I could say, social, economic and political democracy. See that there are many movements running in this country, social movements, political movements, environmental movements, women rights movement. You will see that Dr. Baba Ambedkar has become a sort of a symbol of that resistance towards the establishment. You see,
conference is on social engagement and liberation. Dr. Ambedkar really had a very subtle and complete understanding of the intertwining of social action, social engagement, and liberation.
And he talked about the Sangha as practicing true democracy 2,500 years ago. He talked about learning liberty, equality, fraternity, not from the French Revolution, but from his master, the Buddha.
The idea was to explore that, to draw together participants from around India, but also from around Asia and the West, and explore our common practice and our common directions and the diversity of that as well, and touching into Baba Saheb Ambedkar's teaching as we were going along. Looking first at questions of empowerment, then at sort of breaking down barriers between people and between communities. We're looking at matters of governance through a Dhammic lens.
Are dedicated to not to believe in God.
And these are a fascinating trio because they sort of represent, if you like, Dhamma's empowerment, personal, then the breaking down barriers, the sort of attitude to others, and then Dhamma as governance, the way we organize ourselves, from the family to the nation. So the three major aspects of life. And of course they correspond roughly to liberty, equality, fraternity. We had a brief introduction to the day, refuges and precepts, but then we'd have 3 lectures or 4 lectures, tea, 2 lectures, or 20 minutes each was the norm. Then in the afternoon we'd had discussion groups for an hour and a half. And we had 2 facilitators each, one a local Indian and one someone from abroad. And in a sense, this was the most important part of the program because, it's how we engage with what we hear, to my mind, is the most important thing. And that's what we go away with. Yeah? And apparently most of the groups were quite stimulating. And then after that, for an hour and a half, we have a panel discussion. So some of the questions that come out of that group go to the panel chairman, and the panel consists of the speakers in the morning. We see what they come up with. The first evening of the conference we had Savi Savarkar, who's the most famous Buddhist Ambedkarite painter, a very, very dramatic and very close friend of ours. So we had a small exhibition of his. In the evening, a concert by a violinist, one of the leading Buddhist classical musicians, and perhaps the first who achieved such prominence, and from Nagpur, and a very close friend of ours.
If this moral revolution is to take place, if there is to be a transformation in attitudes, fundamental ideas about life, and in moral perspective, then there needs to be an agent of that change, of that moral revolution. It's not going to happen by itself.
Everyone, after all, are practicing the same, the Dharma, Buddha Sangha Dharma. They also practice a lot of compassion, and we also do like that, and we also thinking of to help others, and they also doing that. And so I feel that Buddha in the many form, Buddha came in the many form.
It's Sangha that is the agent of that moral revolution. Sangha we define as the community of all who go for refuge to the three jewels. Fundamentally, it consists of every man, every woman who commits themselves to practicing the Dhamma in harmony with others in order to move towards enlightenment.
What comes out of it, I'm not sure. That remains to be seen. What comes out of it is often just deepened relationships, which means a greater ability for people to work together. And that, I think, is going to happen. And I often see that from people who come here, because there's something unique happening here.
So here we are at Bordharan on international convention organized by National Network of Buddhist Youth, Triratna Bauddha Mahasangha, India.
The youth in all over India, in many states, they are come together, and we have the network of youth. So youth are connected with each other, and they support to each other. Some of my friends, they are coming from Australia, England, Ireland, and Singapore, and I think from Germany. So in different countries, the people, they come together here. Every year we have a big convention, and they're sharing how they work in their conditions, in their society, and we inspired with each other because of our condition in India is very different, the culture different, and they have a different condition, different threat, and different challenge in their life. But we have something in common. You understand? Something in common we have as a human being. So we are sharing our experience as a human being, and we collectively, how do we collectively work for the youth, the worldwide youth, because the old youth want to be the society where they can feel the freedom, liberty. We are real brother and sister here. So we break this, we have the barriers also. So we break that.
We would like values of justice, liberty, equality, freedom, fraternity to be established in all parts of the world. Because to think only about India would be like having a very limited vision. That's not our goal. There are many things in India that we cannot do ourselves. The present situation in India, we have many friends from many different communities with whom we would like to share Buddhism. But because of this division of societies, they would not like to hear about Buddhism from people having religious background, which they see as lower to themselves. But if our friends from West, they come here and through some general workshops, if they offer some teachings of Buddha, they would very happily listen to them.
So Baba Sahib said, well, we can't change other people's attitudes immediately, but we can change our own attitudes to ourselves. If we stop identifying ourselves as low or even outcast, we see that we've got potential. We refuse to be defined by the identity that is given to us.
These are the topics. Yeah. So we've got 4 topics so far. Do we want more?
In this convention, we held all the activities around the theme Rise Up and Reach Out. So we have always concentrated on themes which would offer us a development as an individual, and through that individual development, some way to respond to the needs of societies.
Rise up, reach out! 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 Rise up, reach out!
And also the theme was to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the conversion movement that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has initiated.
He converted into Buddhism in 1956. And as he says in his conversion talk on the very day, 14th October at Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur, my whole aim for this conversion is for spiritual reason. I'm not converting for any socio or political reason, though it has greater implication on society and politics, of course. He fought through constitutional means, he fought through educational means, even political means. That all had a great effect, but that was not enough, because as he said, caste is a notion of mind. And he saw that the deep notion, mental attitude needs to be changed.
I think what really inspired me was that there's just so much energy and enthusiasm and passion behind Dr. Ambedkar's vision for a new society in India. And it's as fresh in young people's imagination as it was 60 years ago when their grandparents or their great-grandparents converted. And I really loved going to Diksha Bhumi with all of them. We just had a great time shouting out big chants to Dr. Ambedkar and kind of creating quite a big scene. So everyone definitely knew that the participants of the International Buddhist Youth Convention were there.
Jai 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 Bhim! Jai Bhim! Jai Bhim! Jai 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 Bhim! Jai Bhim! Jai Bhim! Jai 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 Bhim! Jai Bhim!
Whatever we were trying to achieve through that conversion movement, that is transformation of whole Indian society, they were not happening. So we were exploring throughout this convention that why this is not happening, why after 60 years of conversion the values of liberty, equality, freedom and fraternity, justice, they are not established in India, that the movement is not going forward because there is not a central team or a core of people, or there is no such nucleus of people which are practicing Dhamma. And because there are no such people, others don't understand Dhamma and they don't get motivated to practice Buddha. NNBY can play a very important part in this, that if we exemplify the Dhamma and if we really start practicing Dhamma very seriously, then the other youth can see us and they can see what it means to practice Dhamma and what role Dhamma plays in transformation of society.
Yes, yes, we're all going.
This IBYC, International Buddhist Youth Convention, has given me a chance to follow the Dhamma in my life. I will get connected with the youth in northern region, and I will share the stories of my international brothers and sisters, how they are changing their life.
I particularly enjoyed meeting other mitras who are training for ordination, because it's the friendships that have existed between some of the long-standing order members in the UK, India and other places that have really kept the Sangha together. The convention felt like the opportunity for people who are training for ordination to start to develop those friendships that will hopefully stand the course of time. That's a really critical responsibility that young people have, and it really helps us to unpick our cultural conditioning and challenge each other. And it's just really delightful to have friends all over the world. It's like having a home in many different places.
This was my first time when I was having one group discussion with international GFR Mitras. So it was really a favorite for me. It was very special for me. And in that group, I came to know that there are Adhisthana, program for 4 months or 5 months in UK, and you have also opportunity to go there. Events like this are really bringing youths together to experience Dhamma more deeply, what really Baba Sahib meant by his Buddhist act of conversion.
Reach out together, with a ring on my lips and my tree hearts. Let's reach out together, and we're done!
Interestingly, it has an international nature. So in the West, youths are feeling more liberty, but the notion of freedom in the West could be abstract. And Dr. Ambedkar says that the real freedom comes with the responsibility. They come from their individual search. It is interesting to know that they arrive at Buddhism, Dhamma, as a means to emancipate themselves. Of course, in India, they suffer from the problem of caste and insecurity and unemployment and oppression. But again, Buddhism is a common solution for them as well, to liberate themselves from their oppressed situation. So the interaction with these Western youths, with Indian youths, is quite interesting. The common theme is their search for something more meaningful ends up with the Dhamma, ends up with the Buddhism. So that intersection from East and West ends up in Buddha's teaching. And that is very well manifested in Dr. Ambedkar's teaching and Sangharakshita's teaching. So that would, I would say, quite a uniqueness of this event. We are teaching meditation. We are teaching them how Dr. Ambedkar envisioned the society based on Dhamma, and also the principle of friendship, the principle of Kalyan Mitrata. And that principle of Kalyan Mitrata really forms a bond among youth across the culture. And they are in group discussion, so they are sharing each other's experiences, how Dhamma is applicable for youth in the West, how Dhamma is applicable in India, in the West particularly, to get rid of their individualistic shell and reach out the larger world.
Rise up! Rise up! Reach out! Rise up! Reach out! Rise up!
And in India, especially to overcome an inferiority complex, the caste complex, to feel them as a more liberal human, and they are young and they have energy. So undoubtedly that power, that inspiration will put them into fire, set them on fire based on Dhamma and positive spirits.
What I found was with the clothes I was wearing, I started feeling wrong in my body. So I started wearing a binder, which is what trans men wear to make sure their chest appears flat. The day I did that, everything just turned around. I felt really like something changed. Seeing myself in a different way was very, very strong. You know, I didn't really know what was going on. And then after that came a long period of just fighting it, being angry, being furious. It was very uncomfortable really to be in that much conflict. So I sought support, professional support, spoke with friends, had therapy. And the conclusion really was the best thing is to face this, to walk towards it. That fighting it was just causing me more distress. And really the main job for me has just been about listening and responding, just trying to align myself with really the reality of my situation.
Okay, take one and pass them round. And yeah, if you want to add on...
You know, the irony is that, you know, the first conversation about setting up the Triratna Gender Diverse Buddhists group, you know, I was doing that as an ally. I didn't know what I know now about my gender.
I think what the aim of that little breakout session would be to just really look at the absolute core of what that teaching is about, or something that really, either that or something that really leaps out.
I was having a conversation with Padma Vyuha, who is a non-binary trans female in our order, and a mitra called Sal from the LBC, and we were talking about how difficult it is for people who have diverse gender identities within Triratna to find somewhere where they can fit in. You know, people who really like what we do, you know, like how we present the Dharma, like how we teach, you know, really receptive to how we do meditation, really love the Sangha, but when they encounter single-sex groupings, they're a bit like, oh, I'm not really sure where I fit. What group shall I go to? If I go to this one, are they just going to reject me? If I go to that one, will they make assumptions about my gender that aren't actually my experience? So we got talking and decided to set up a Facebook group just to sort of see who else was out there. And it's been extraordinary, you know, I mean, in the first couple of weeks, the numbers just went right through the roof. We had no idea. And again, it was people going, oh, wow, I thought I was the only one, and now I can see I'm not. But we've got over 300 members now on that group, and we ran a retreat last year, which was really successful at Adhisthana. We've got another one booked for this year.
Limbs are more a working example in a way. You look at it in all those different directions, keep on changing direction, applying it.
On the day in Sheffield, we looked at a couple of different texts. We did a lot of discussion, breaking it apart. And actually, you know, it's partly a chance to get together and study Dharma, but it's also about creating Sangha and building Sangha. So people getting a chance to meet each other in the flesh, because Facebook's like, it's okay for connecting, but it's nothing on being in the same room as people, on actually feeling that warmth and cultivating those friendships.
Right from school all the way through, gender didn't really make sense to me in the way that it seemed to make sense to most other people. That I don't feel like a man, but I also don't feel like a woman. That I feel like a person, and not really much beyond that. So there's complexities in where in a single-sex environment I found myself often having to explain who I was, or clashing against an idea where I must be a certain way because I'm 6'1" with a beard. That's a secure environment, a safe environment, which is created within a single-sex environment, actually wasn't there for me. And then I discovered, the Gender Diverse Sangha. Went on the retreat last year, which was a real eye-opener. It was something new, completely new to me.
And I've been thinking about, you know, what's a Dharma toolkit for people who are gender diverse? You know, what do we need in that toolkit? A whole bunch of metta, a load of kshanti, really good understanding of pratitya samutpada.
The kind of causality it's talking about is very different from the idea of this makes that happen. What it's saying is that this makes that possible. So supportive conditions don't determine the arising of something, they just make it possible.
You can use that teaching to break down polarisation around this sense of difference, like, well, I'm different from you, you'd never understand, or, oh, I don't understand that person, they're really odd. You can break that sense of difference down through looking at all the conditions at play and then enter into a dialogue, create harmony and understanding, and in a way celebrate those differences.
But actually doing that, you're actually just aligning yourself with the truth, which can only ever be a good thing. You know, actually being able to say, well, it's not just that I'm aware of all of my conditions. That's great, but you've got to turn that right around to whoever it is you're having an interaction with, and be able to really see them for who they are, not just paint them as the enemy or somebody who's saying something that you don't like. You know.
So in a way, it's about cultivating harmony, you know, and that gets me really excited. What's really powerful as well with all of that is it takes the blame away, and it can take the pain away as well. A lot of people, Buddhist or not, think that surgery should be unnecessary for somebody who is Buddhist, that you're missing the point, you've taken a wrong turn on your spiritual path, that really, you know, the goal is about going beyond all of that stuff, and surely you don't need to muck about with this vessel, you know. And I can understand where those views come from. I think gender in a way has got nothing to do with Buddhism, you know. Like actually when we look at the Dharma, it's teaching us about how to, well, gain enlightenment, isn't it? But there's this whole business of the work we need to do in the human realm. We need to be in a good state, fit, healthy, well, happy, you know. And if you're experiencing a lot of distress in your body, you're not actually going to make any progress. You have to work out what's happening now. So the work with the gender diverse Buddhists is around trying to cultivate ways and formulate ways where we can communicate ourselves and be seen. I mean, that's what we do in study groups, isn't it? That's what we do in chapter, that's what we do in GFR groups, in our communities, is we find ways to communicate how we are. And for me, that's just been beautiful.
So long as all have not attained.
So long as all have not attained.
To peace.
To peace.